Today, we're going to talk about LinkedIn enhancing your online presence. Just a few things. I want to let you know that the talk piece of LinkedIn has been turned off for attendees, but you can add a question in the chat box. And at the end of the presentation, I'm going to leave room for questions. So make sure if you have any questions, feel free to add it to the chat box and they will be answered. Okay, so let's dive right in. So it's no secret that LinkedIn is the top social networking site with about 133 million users in the US and 600 million worldwide. So a great LinkedIn profile addresses who you are, and it says the right things. It draws attention and it helps you to really connect with the people who can help expand your career. If you're looking for a job, an internship, if you want to learn a little bit more about your industry, if you want to find a mentor, even if you just want to do some research, developing connections through LinkedIn is pivotal. So I'm going to give you what I feel like are the top 10 tips to creating a solid LinkedIn profile. So we're going to start with number 1, which is to choose a great photo, create an attention-grabbing headline, and summary. So when you are choosing your photo, this is the first chance that the viewer, whether it be a hiring manager, whether it be a potential mentor, a person who you decide to do an informational interview with, or a future coworker, this is the first time that they get to see you as a professional. And as we all know, a picture can say 1,000 words. So you want to make sure that it's a professional picture. This is the first time that they're putting a face to your name, and this is your first impression. So make a good one. Make sure it's clear and it has a nice background. Keep it simple and classic. If you have a more creative career path, such as art or graphic design, then you can add your own flair to it. But if not, just keep it simple and keep it classy. Another thing for your headline, you want to make sure that, so it'll naturally default as your current position for your headline, and that's okay to start with. But after you've built your profile out, make sure that you're utilizing that 120 characters to draw the viewers into your profile, and make sure that you're writing to your target audience. Now for your summary, this tells a little bit about who you are as a professional. What are your own personal mission, values, and goals? Where does your passion lie? So you might want to do a little bit of reflection before you create this summary and before you create your LinkedIn profile. And throughout, we are going to talk a little bit about reflection and how that plays in a key role when you're creating your profile, but also in your career development. You want to make sure that this statement is succinct, but also descriptive. So I always get students asking, Kristen, well, I just do not know what to add or what to put. It's going to look different for everyone. This is why you definitely want to utilize career development and create a career counseling appointment if need be, because we can help you build your LinkedIn profile, build your resume, your cover letter. So make sure that you're utilizing all of your resources. Number 2, utilize each section purposefully. There are about 20 LinkedIn sections, so you want to use them wisely. You want to use them to add depth to your profile. Now, you're not going to be able to utilize every section. Most people won't, and that's okay. Just use what you have to shine. So some of those examples of different sections are your education, experience, volunteer experience, skills, accomplishments, different courses that you've taken within your majors, any honors or awards that you have received both inside of Roosevelt and outside, different languages. any publications or projects that you've been a part of, and even interest. So you know you can't write interest on your resume, but on your LinkedIn, you can. You want to make sure that you're reviewing some past and current experiences. Sometimes we forget all of the great things that we've done. So when I'm working with students with creating their resumes, and sometimes students are like, well, Kristen, I don't know what to add. I don't feel like I've had that much experience. But usually after I ask them several questions, they see that they do have different experiences. So make sure that you're reviewing your experiences, things that you've done in class, things that you've done on campus, groups that you've been a part of, the different volunteer experiences that you've had outside of class. Make sure you're reviewing all of those experiences and adding them, but make sure you add them with meaning. Don't just add to add. Make sure you add them for a reason and for purpose. I always like to think of LinkedIn as your resume that never sleeps. And so make sure that you add things that make sense for your career path. Don't just add everything you've ever done. I always tell my students to do that same thing for your resume. You don't have to add everything that you've ever done. Make sure that you are telling a professional story, your story, when you're adding things to your LinkedIn. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. So, number 3, you want to make genuine connections, not just random connections, but genuine connections. LinkedIn has a system of first, second, and third connections. Having a lot of connections helps to keep you visible to others. Some say that in order to utilize LinkedIn for networking and job and internship purposes, that you need at least 500 connections. Getting to know someone online can be just as valuable as getting to know them face to face if you do it skillfully, especially in 2020 when we are living a social distance lifestyle. It's preferable to connect with individuals to whom you know personally, who you've worked with or met in a professional capacity. But do connect with people in your field that intrigue you, who work for a company that you're interested in, but be genuine and make sure you add an introduction to yourself. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Also, sure you are utilizing those connections for informational interviews, potentially. An informational interview is an educational conversation with a professional in your field, or with someone who's working for a company that you're interested in, or who has a background that you want to learn a little bit more about. It's one of the most underutilized forms of networking, but it's a great way to build connections, to research, maybe to find a mentor, to find job shadowing opportunities. One way to connect and find information or interviews is to utilize your connections on LinkedIn, as well as to utilize Roosevelt alumni on LinkedIn as well. So one of the biggest benefits is research. So learning more about what a day in the life might be like working at this company. How did this person get to where they are today? They have the same major as you. Potentially, maybe they went to Roosevelt just like you, and you're learning their trajectory. You're learning the different things that they've come up against within the field, the different trends, what's going on right now. It's a very effective way to gain research. Now, an informational interview is not a place to ask for a job or ask for an internship, but usually if it's a good, genuine conversation, it's going to come back around to you and what you want and what you're looking for. And they can potentially help you find that internship or that job. For me, I always like to say my success story of finding an internship when needed for grad school by utilizing information interviews. So you never know how this can benefit you. If anything, it helps to expand your network, and you can utilize them for research purposes. Now, something to remember when you are going into the informational interview is that you are the lead of it. So you want to make sure that you're asking meaningful and thoughtful questions. You want to make sure that before you've gone in, you have researched the professional who you're going to talk to on LinkedIn, so that you can actually talk to them about different things that they've done. Research the company that they currently work for, especially if it's a company that you're interested in potentially working for. Be prepared. Make sure you have your resume ready just in case. Now, yes, we just talked about it not being a place to ask for a job or internship, but you never know. The professional might ask you, oh, can I have your resume for the just in case? And you want to make sure that you have one ready for them to either send online or to have in person. I always like to ask at an informational interview, based on the discussion and the conversation that we've had today, is there anyone else who you think I'd benefit from talking to within your network? That just further builds out your network, and it lets that professional know that you're serious, and that you really want to ascertain more information. Now, at the end of an informational interview, just like a regular interview, I like to send within 24 hours a thank you note. Make it genuine. Let them know that you enjoyed talking to them about X, Y, and Z. But this is just a nice way to make sure that you're continually connecting with them, thanking them for their time, and keeping that connection open. Now, you're going to be learning lots of information. So if you have any questions, remember, you can utilize the chat box to ask those questions, and I'll make sure that I get to them at the end of the presentation. Okay, so number 3, continued. So an easy step to start building your connections, especially if you're just creating your LinkedIn profile, is to upload from your email address or your phone number the contacts that you already have. So if you're utilizing your phone, it'd probably be a little bit easier to upload your phone contacts. But if you're using your phone or a computer, you can upload the contacts that are already there, and whoever has a LinkedIn profile, it will pop up as a connection. And so that's your first stitch effort to start building those connections. Remember that when you add someone or you are requesting them to be your friend on LinkedIn, make sure that you add a note to either reintroduce yourself or to introduce yourself. It's super important, especially if you are utilizing LinkedIn to find a job, utilizing LinkedIn to find a mentor or an internship, which we're all doing. So you want to make sure that you add that note. If you forget almost everything I've ever said in this presentation, make sure you take that one, that you just don't add everybody. Make sure that you're adding them for a reason, and make sure that you're customizing a note to them specifically. Now, another way to begin to build your connections is to join LinkedIn groups. So first, you can join RU Connect, which is Career Development's LinkedIn group. You can search the group directory on LinkedIn, which is under groups in the interest tab, for groups related to your industry or professional interests. Now, some groups are going to be private, and you might have to know someone or be affiliated with that person on LinkedIn to join, but there are many groups that are open. Now, after you are in that group and become a member, you want to make sure that you join in the discussion and connect with other members within the group. Don't just join a group to join. Make sure that you're joining in on any discussions. Make sure you're utilizing any resources, reading the articles that they've had. And another thing that you can do is search for Roosevelt alumni. I think this is a really good job, an internship kind of research piece, as well as a great place to start for informational interviews. If you go on the Roosevelt page, Roosevelt University, if you go on the left side, you're going to see alumni. And if you click in the search box, your major, whatever it may be, education, psychology, you can narrow it down and you can see how many alumni currently have active LinkedIn pages, and you can go on their different profiles. You can see what they have been doing. You can see if they went to grad school. You can see where they work or where they have worked. And then you can potentially decide to ask for an informational interview. If it's a really genuine and amazing conversation and you guys connect, you can potentially ask them to be your mentor or ask to job shadow them, maybe more in the future because of our social distance lifestyle, but these are all things just to think about. All right, so number 4 is to get strategic. We all need to have a career action plan, and that action plan is going to change over time. So whether your goal is right now to find an internship or to network or to look for a job or to find a mentor, whatever it is, you need to have an action plan to make that happen. So make sure that you're reflecting on knowing who you are, knowing what you want. What are your skills? What are your values? What is your professional narrative? You want to be able to ensure that you can speak about yourself efficiently and effectively, and that you know exactly what you're going for so that you can develop different steps to get there. Another way to get strategic is to hone in on those companies of interest and professionals that work in those companies, which is a really cool feature that you can do on LinkedIn. So say you have 5 companies that you're really interested in. Maybe you want to get really, really strategic and hone in, make sure you're following that company on LinkedIn and that you're seeing their news feeds and different articles that's being posted or interviews that they're having with executive teams. You want to make sure that you also connect with professionals who have different job titles that you're interested in in that company as well. You can have interest on LinkedIn, and those interests come on your news feed as well. So different topics that might interest you that are a part of your field, make sure you go ahead and add those as well. You want to make sure that you personalize your URL. So right now, if you your URL, it's probably extremely long, and if you copied and paste that and put it on your resume as a link, it wouldn't look nice. But everybody has the option, it's free, to personalize your URL. So make sure that when you do that, it is some form of your name, whether it be your first and last name, a piece of your first name, a piece of your last name. Make sure that it's professional. Write more. Make sure that you're commenting on your connections post. Be a part of the discussion. Don't just look at them, be a part of the discussion. This is how people get to know you more on LinkedIn. Comment or kudos them on something that they've written. You can create different articles and publish them on LinkedIn. If you have something that you're really, really passionate about and you want to write about it, it's kind of like a blog post, you can do that on LinkedIn. I think that's a really, really cool feature. But you can also upload videos and presentations. You can upload a video introduction of yourself. You can review different content. You can even create a mini series of videos and upload them on LinkedIn. I really love that feature because you can support everything that you are saying about yourself in different ways. So if you want to back into it that way, I think it's really, really awesome. If you don't feel comfortable backing into that in that way, or you need help, then definitely reach out to career development. Make sure that you stay updated on all the many changes that LinkedIn has. LinkedIn changes like every couple of months, but for the better for sure. Different features and different ways to connect with people. So make sure that you are staying abreast to those changes. You want to make sure that if you're posting things that you add a hashtag so that you can be discovered by different connections that are outside of your connection range as well. That's another way to kind of create friends. So if you're creating an awesome dynamic post, somebody sees it because you've utilized different hashtags, and that's another way to kind of grow connections. All right. All right, so we talked about professional narrative, and I'm a big proponent of professional narrative because it's knowing who you are and knowing what your story is as a professional and being able to convey that to the employer, to the different connections that you have on LinkedIn, to your mentor of the future. You need to know yourself. To thy own self be true. What do you want the employer, the recruiter, your potential director to know about you? What's your purpose, your mission? It's knowing who you are, where you want to go, your goals, and what values that you have, and the values that you add as a professional as well. It can help start a deeper and genuine conversation with your different connections. And the cool thing here is that you hold the cards. You hold the cards to whether you create a positive and powerful first impression. So it's that reflection piece coming back to really knowing who you are. And that's one thing that we talk about in GPS, our career readiness program. If you're interested, please let me know. Contact Career Development at career@roosevelt.edu. We want to make sure that students know who they are. They know what they need to work on, and they're creating opportunities for themselves, and understanding that there's a reflection piece in career development as well. Number 5, get specific, especially if you are in the season of job and internship searching. Make sure that you can discuss everything that is in your profile effectively. That's why I say don't just add things to add them. Let the recruiter know under the job tabs and settings that you are searching. You can also connect with different contacts, especially those ones who you know, and let them know by a private message that you are searching. And you can also create a post, and you can attach your resume saying that you're searching. Another thing is going back to Roosevelt alumni. You can make powerful connections, and they can be advocates for you if you utilize Roosevelt alumni who have graduated in your field of interest, and really develop a personal connection with them, as well as your professors. Professors are really good resources. And this is why you want to make sure that when you're taking classes, that you are an active member in conversations, as well as developing a connection with your professors. Ask, your professor or RU alumni that you might have done an informational interview with or connected and messaged a couple of times about different topics potentially. Ask them to introduce you to some of those second and third rate connections on your LinkedIn profile. I just want to make a small caveat to talk about different ways that you can get strategic when you are searching for internships and jobs. I like to give myself a set time and schedule for my search because searching can be very daunting. So give yourself a set time per day or per week when you are searching. Make sure you add structure to your search. You're going to come up against so many different job posts, so many different companies. You want to make sure that you're adding some form of structure, whether you use a notebook, Excel spreadsheet, Word document, whatever works for you. You want to make sure that you have a running list of companies that you applied for. why specifically did you apply for these companies? What things attracted you to this company? Maybe it's their mission, their values, what they're doing today. Do you have a connection within this company? Have you done an informational interview with somebody? Is there an alumni you want to talk to who works for this company? And that's why I always like to use an Excel spreadsheet, because it really sets it up really well for you. And then create a top 15 to 20 places where you want to work potentially, and then hone in on those. So sometimes we don't know what we don't know, right? There's so many different companies, especially in Chicago, in the Chicagoland area. And so one way to do your job search is to make sure you hone in. I like to look at RU alumni and different places that they've worked, because I might have like a top 5 ideas just because of things I've heard or things I've researched. But to broaden my search, I like to utilize LinkedIn to see where Roosevelt alumni have worked as well. Number 6, you want to make sure that you stay active and present. So make sure you remain connected to those contacts, mentors, and peers and associates that you feel like can help you, but also that you can potentially help as well. And so it's important to have that meaningful connection. Keeping a connection is super important in 2020. Especially when you are living a social distance lifestyle. So you want to make sure that you're utilizing social media, especially LinkedIn, in your job search or in any search that you have, or networking, because it gets harder and harder to be in person, right? But just talking about like utilizing virtual things and your resources, remember that Roosevelt and Career Development is having a virtual career fair November 5th from 2 to 5 p.m. You can find all of the information within your email or on Handshake. And then next week, we're having a young alumni panel, and these are going to be panelists talking about their experiences after graduation. And so you make sure you're utilizing all of the things that you can do online right now. Right now, when we're living that social distance lifestyle, whether it be online networking events, webinars, make sure that you also are utilizing and seeing what your specific college is doing. Everybody is trying to adapt to social distance lifestyle. So don't miss out on different opportunities that are coming your way. So make sure you read all your emails, you read your Like Your Life, so that you can stay abreast to those things. Make sure that you are expressing your knowledge base in your posts, in your articles, in your summary. Basically, every LinkedIn feature, use it to your advantage. So make sure that you continuously look at the different updates that they have, and make sure that you're adding meaningful things to your private conversations, to the LinkedIn groups that you're joining, to your status updates. Make sure that you don't just add them to add them, but add them to help you in the present and the future. Research. So we're all in different stages of our career development and on different stages of our path. So right now, maybe you're not looking to specifically network, maybe you're not looking to find a job, but you can do some research. When the time is right, make sure that you research different companies that you are interested in, institutions. What's their mission? What's their values? Know how that mission and that value correlates to you as a person and your own personal missions and values. Expand your search utilizing Google. You make sure you go on the company website. Make sure that you try to get an informational interview with the professional in that company that you're really in those companies that you're really interested in. So if anything, use LinkedIn as a research tool. Seeing the different people who work in a company, what are some of their roles or responsibilities? What's their job titles that they're utilizing at this company? Following the different companies so that you can read the different articles directly on your news feed, or different interests that you have within your industry. If you follow that interest, those things come directly on your newsfeed. So even if you're not at a specific place of the search or the network, use it for research purposes. You can also utilize LinkedIn as career development. So make sure you're reading articles from the different professionals out there. Make sure you're joining groups and you're having discussions with like-minded individuals. Make sure you're looking at the updates from the companies and the topics of interest. They also have some free classes on LinkedIn as well. And I personally like to utilize everything that is free on LinkedIn, but usually they have a 30-day free trial where they have a variety of different classes and different topics. And I think it's super powerful, especially right now when we're living in 2020 and are in the midst of a pandemic, to have those to have that feature. So use that 30-day free to your advantage. All right, so number 9, ask for recommendations and endorsements. So who are some people you can ask? Ask your colleagues, former professors or supervisors. Make sure that these are people who you have a good relationship with, because these are going to be endorsements that are directly on your LinkedIn profile. And endorsements are powerful to viewers because the recommendation lets the reader know that everything you've said about yourself is true, and they've witnessed it and they approve of what you've done and they'll vouch for you. And so you want to make sure that it's someone who you know will put an enthusiastic recommendation. There's nothing like a dry recommendation to turn somebody off, right? So make sure that you have someone who will speak enthusiastically about you. Recommendations and endorsements help your LinkedIn profile stand out. So just imagine if a hiring manager was reviewing your LinkedIn profile, because they have your resume, they have your cover letter, they have your application. If they're viewing your LinkedIn profile, they must like you as an individual. They want to know a little bit more because you're constricted to that one-page resume and that one-page cover letter. And they can learn a little bit more about you as a professional from your LinkedIn profile. To have several recommendations on your profile could really, boost you up. It can really make them pull into you and want to hear more from you and bring you in for that job interview. And then having those endorsements of skills that you have, all of those skills that you listed on your resume, if you have someone else saying, yes, Kristen has that, yes, Teresa has that, yes, it makes them understand, like, yeah, you've done this in person. You have these skill sets. People are vouching for you. Now, don't forget to pay it forward. If someone asks you to write a recommendation or have an endorsement, or make sure that you do so, as long as you can do it with confidence and you can vouch for this person. Last but definitely not least, you want to make sure that you showcase your passion for your field of interest. So how do you do this? By doing everything we just discussed, but doing it diligently and thoughtfully. Be creative, be consistent, make sure that you're utilizing industry lingo, hone in on what you want. Have professional confidence and know your why. Your why is, what are your motivations? Why did you choose something? And what's your impact that you have on your field or on the different activities that you've done? What's the impact that you've created? Make sure that you take initiative and make sure that you continue to research about the different trends that are going on within your field of interest. Utilize that pandemic extra time to remain active and to continue your networking or to build upon your networking. I have a couple more slides and then I'm going to get to any questions that you might have. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat box. Okay, so I wanted to make a quick caveat about fraudulent employers and email spoofing. If you receive an email that you feel isn't quite right, then it probably isn't. Make sure that you email that email to career@roosevelt.edu. During the time of social distance and people utilizing their computers more, we're finding that people are getting more and more emails from fraudulent employers. So if someone asks you to send them money or wire them or transfer money, um, don't go for it. If it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. If they're asking you to wire $1,000 to them so that they can send you a laptop, or wire $1,000 to me and I'll give you back $1,000 or $3,000, it's a scam, and we don't want you to fall for those scams. If you receive an email from someone saying that they've received your application, but you never sent them an application, or if you get a job offer, but you've never done an interview with them, you've never sent in an application with them, please, please, please make sure that you are sending these emails to us, career@roosevelt.edu, so that we can stay on top of the different email addresses that are sending out these fraudulent emails. So if there's anything doesn't feel right, contact us. Let us know what's happening. If you'd like to set up a career counseling appointment, if you have any questions, this is our contact information. We are currently completely online, and we do career development appointments via Zoom or over the phone. So if you have any questions or you'd like to set up a career counseling appointment, please feel free to do so at career@roosevelt.edu, or you can utilize EAB as well. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at RU Career. All right, let's go over to our chat box questions. Okay, so I have a question. What do you mean about personalize your URL and how? So actually, let me share my screen. I'll show you guys how to do that. I'm going to share my screen and I'll share my LinkedIn page. Give me a second. That's a really good question though. Okay, so you see this is my the first page of my profile, and here it has on the right side, edit public profile and URL. So here I have already edited my URL before I edited it. So it's basically how someone can get directly to your profile. They can copy and paste it from wherever you've added it, whether it be an email, whether it be your resume, and get directly to your LinkedIn profile. So they don't have to search in the search box. They don't have to go through other people's names who are Kristen or other people who graduated from Roosevelt University. And so before I put in Kristen Dash Swims, it was so many random characters, and I wouldn't have wanted to add that to my resume. But I just added a variations of I just added my first and last name with the dash, and then I can save it, and that saves my URL. All right. While we're here, here's my profile picture. You see, it's simple, it's me. And because I was applying for a job at Roosevelt about 3+ years ago, I decided for my background picture to add me graduating from Roosevelt. You see that strategic adding purpose? I've created my about section, which is a little bit about me and what I want to do as a professional in higher education. I have my different experiences here, dating back to when I was a teacher. And I've added those older experiences because I'm utilizing the transferable skills that I had when I was a teacher in my current positions here at Roosevelt. So adding it with purpose, thinking about my why have I added it? What do I want the hiring manager to know about me? I've added my educational experiences, the certificates that I have currently still. I've added my volunteer experience and different skills that I have. In my accomplishment section, I decided to add different courses that I've taken when I earned my master's and different honors that I had throughout my time at both Roosevelt and DePaul. And so here are some of my interests, just different companies that I want to know a little bit more about, different groups that I like to have come on my newsfeed. Here in the work section, you see different LinkedIn products. If I click learning, I see I can start my first free month, which is probably what I utilize. I get really strategic and decide, are there and save. So what if I wanted to do body language and work and women at work? Save that. I save each one. If I wanted to learn more about Excel's tips and tricks, I save all of those, start my free month, review them, learn from them within that 30-day window. The different groups that you can join, you can add here, you can create a group, you can search groups. The jobs tab, so you want to attack your job search in a variety of different ways, utilizing company job boards, your network, career fairs, all types of events, things in your college, but you can also utilize LinkedIn Jobs as well. They have interview prep. I always would start my resume with a blank document as opposed to a template. You can do save searches. So that's just a little bit there. I'm going to stop the share, head back to the questions. One question was, are you able to email this presentation to us in case I missed some of the earlier slides? Of course, definitely everyone who attended will receive a link to our YouTube page, but also if you missed some of our previous career development topics that we've talked about, please feel free to go on to YouTube and just click in Roosevelt University Career Development, and then you'll see the different videos that definitely subscribe to us, and you'll see the different videos that we've posted since we started utilizing Zoom for our presentations. You can definitely put your URL on other social media platforms, Derek, but you just want to make sure that you're adding it with meaning. So wherever you decide to add it, make sure that it's purposeful, you have a plan, and go for it. Andres, I'm not sure what the fee is for membership because I personally like to utilize everything free on LinkedIn, but I do know that even for LinkedIn membership, they usually, just like we saw, have a 30-day window. And I think they have different tiers. So if you're into the job search and you really want to use every single thing on LinkedIn, and so you decide to go for it for 6 months, I think they have different tiers at different prices. But you can just go on and click. I'm sure once you go to 30 days free, it'll tell you a little bit more about how much the pricing is. Yes, you can definitely schedule an appointment with me if you have more questions about LinkedIn or tips for resumes. You can do that at career@roosevelt.edu, or you can go in on EAB and you can create an appointment there as well. Is it mandatory to use LinkedIn for employers? It's not mandatory, but it is really good to have a LinkedIn profile because you never know. So some companies might not utilize LinkedIn as much as others. But what we do know is that a lot of companies do utilize LinkedIn. We had a panel a few weeks back, and every hiring manager on the panel said that they did utilize LinkedIn. So you want to make sure that you don't miss out on that opportunity. So to have a built out LinkedIn profile, and you can start building it out from your resume, and you can continue from there. Thank you, Valerie. So the base rate is $29.99 a month. Thank you, Andres. How would you know which employers use LinkedIn? That's a good question. So sometimes you're going to have it where the recruiter is directly contacting you through LinkedIn. You'll be able to find the different companies on LinkedIn, and you can see the different jobs that they've posted through LinkedIn. And so that's one of the biggest ways you can find out if they are utilizing LinkedIn. So if they've posted their jobs on LinkedIn under the jobs tab, then they're probably utilizing LinkedIn as one of their options for sourcing candidates. Is it acceptable for friends to endorse you? Yes, it is acceptable for friends to endorse you, but just make sure that they know you have those skill sets and they've seen you in action with those skill sets. We have hard skills and soft skills, and living life creates some of those skills as well. So friends can be really good people to endorse you on different skills that you've had. But you also can get strategic with it as well, because if an employer sees that someone from a job that you've had endorses you, that could be more powerful. Or if an employer sees that an old supervisor is the one who's written the recommendation, that could be more powerful. I will definitely take that into consideration, Valerie. And then we can also talk about optimizing your profile to be searchable by recruiters. We can talk about that individually because it can run the gamut based on your specific industry and the different things that you bring to the table as a candidate. What is your preferable site to look for potential opportunities for jobs or internships? I personally, if I'm doing job board search, I really like to utilize Indeed as well as Glassdoor and LinkedIn. There's a variety of different ones out there. Idealist.org is another really good one, just to kind of get that search starting. Another thing that I really like that Indeed has started to create, and it's free, is they have different webinars. Since the pandemic, they've started to create different webinars on different career development topics. And even I have found them useful. So that's something that you can do for free and continue throughout your time in quarantine. How do we find teachers from Roosevelt? One, you can utilize the Roosevelt directory right directly on the Roosevelt site so that you can come up with different names for the different professors in the different colleges, and then you can just search box their name. But also, if you click on Roosevelt University, you can see Roosevelt is, an institution and a company as other places as well. You can see the different people who work at Roosevelt as well. And there's different ways to narrow it down as well, Derek. I'm going to add my direct email address here. If you guys have any questions or if you want to directly contact me and we can create an appointment, it's kswims@roosevelt.edu. Let me quickly go back in the chat box to make sure I didn't skip over anybody's questions. You're welcome, Derek. Thank you for joining us. All right, guys, I think I hit everybody's questions. I will stay on for the next 5 to 10 minutes. If you have any questions that are popping up for you, just let me know. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope that you join us next week as well. Have a great day.